お待たせ。俺は今から君の剣となろ
Hello, I'm Silveroxus, and this week in Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent is the Bravely Default Part 2 collaboration event. We have a couple units coming this week, being Ringabel and Gloria, and this video will be covering Ringabel, the most heroic hero. So moving on to what Ringabel does, he is a warrior, he is a sword DPS. That is what he does, and he does it very well. His special abilities is that he exploits dark with most attacks, and he drains his own HP to make his attack stronger. His preferred weapons would be Fortune Sword for P attack, or you could even use a Cosmic Sword for a little bit of damage cap and bonus regen. That actually can matter. Preferred accessories would be P attack and damage cap gear. HP boosting accessories and regen can help as well, depending on what damage cap options you have. I would still always stack damage cap the most if you're able to reach that cap, depending on your buffs and support units. His EX skill drains his HP to near death, and normal regen may not be enough to get it back to max, or specifically over 90% to get the most of use out of it, so that's why having regen accessories might help. More on that later. So moving on to his passive skills. His first passive is when he's at 60% HP or less, he gains 30% physical attack up and sword damage up. This is a phenomenal passive. This will always be active when he uses his best skills. This is basically just like the ODO's passive, but better because it's 30%. It's 30% capped physical attack and damage up, which means he doesn't need any accessories unless you literally have Reek, who is not even out yet in the server. If you're a global player that has Reek, or when he releases later and you get Reek, like unless you have him, Ringabel's already capped at 30% physical attack up, so he doesn't even need Richard's passive or Pagella's passive or anything. He's good. Because all of his good skills, he's going to drain his HP. So, like, he's going to be at this passive. It's a very good passive. His 3-star passive is that he starts fights with an auto-revive buff. And if he gets KO'd, he'll revive with full 100% HP and SP. It's fine. You still lose your BP if you die. So, like, if an enemy's really slow and it kills him after he acts for some reason or some other effect gets him, like if he was poisoned or bleeding or something like that and he ended up dying from that damage somehow because you didn't have regen to save you, although I know one of them acts before regen. I forget which one, if it's bleeding or hemorrhage, but you get my point. It's nice. It keeps him alive, I guess. It's still better to not die. So, like, it's great. There's no reason to disable it, but it's not like an amazing passive either. Spent too much time on this, sorry. His TP passive is pretty basic. Self 30% max HP up. That's good. More HP is good. That is passive max HP, by the way. So keep in mind that if you run him in a party with Gloria and Gloria heals him, that is active max HP, so he gets even more HP. Like, this guy is cooking with HP, which is good because he drains his HP for skills, and you'll see that in just a minute. So moving on to his skills. His base kit, he has a 2-hit AoE sword, explodes dark. 1-hit single target sword explodes dark, but also grants self 20% max HP up for 2 turns. 1-hit single target sword that explodes dark, and if over half health, take half health of damage for 10% more power. It's a single hit nuke, so why? 2-star skills, 1-hit single target sword that explodes dark, plus deal up to 6 additional hits by taking 10% max HP damage per hit until he's under 60% health, or until he's taken 60% damage, or he's under 10% health, so he can't take more hits because it's 10% health taken per hit. I know I screwed that up. I'm sorry. And that second effect needs to be at max boost in order to trigger. So if you max boost that skill, it'll do up to 7 hits if he has the health for it. His other 2-star skill is self 10% SP regen and 15% physical attack up for 3 to 6 turns. 3-star skill, 1-hit single target sword, exploits dark. It's stronger the lower his HP is, up to double power, 10% HP or less. It doesn't drain health, so you can't auto set this up to be stronger, and it's also a single hit nuke. So, His 4-star skill, it's a 3-hit AoE sword, exploits dark. 5-star skills, 4-hit AoE sword, exploits dark, and if over 50% HP, take 50% HP and damage for 10% more power. 5-hit single target sword, exploits dark, if over half health, take half health of damage for 10% more power. This actually gets stronger twice by both the level 100 skill board advancement and the 6-star enhancement, so it ends up being 5 times 120 at max boost. So if you're not using it as EX skill, this is probably going to slam damage cap pretty easily. It says it's pretty strong. And it's a 5-hit, so it's not terrible. It's pretty good. TP skill, this is something you're going to take in every single battle, just like Gloria. He grants himself the Undying buff, plus 3 BP regen for 3 to 6 turns. This is limited to 1 use per battle. Undying means your HP cannot drop below 1 from normal attacks. This does not prevent overkill. It basically means that for the duration, if you have Undying, you cannot die unless it's overkill. Nothing kills you. You just go down to 1 HP. You can't die. So freely drain his HP with the skills all you want, and then get hit. It doesn't matter. He can't die. It's actually great. That and this just a mini segue. That right there, that buff right there, that's why Shauna's so good for people wondering, because she can give that to all allies. Just saying. That's why she's good. But he can do it he can do it here. He's technically the second unit to do it because Barrett got it first. Just want to point that out. But he's the first meta unit to get it. And it is very, very good because it's comboed with 3 BP regen, which means he just can constantly slam his skills, including 2, since he has 3 BP regen, he can do constant 7-hit shield shapes with his other skill that does that too. So that's very useful. Moving on to his EX skill and ultimate technique. His EX skill has 2 total uses, which is great because you can use it in both turns of break if you set up properly. It's unlocked from turn 4 and onward. It's a 1-hit single target sword that exploits dark, but just like that other skill, he takes 10% HP damage per extra hit, up to 9 additional hits until he's under 10% HP. So it's basically, if you have at least 91% HP or more, it is basically a 10-hit sword for 10 times 90. That is extremely good. This is his best nuking option by far, and if you have enough regen, you can do this both turns of break. I'm going to get to it in the unit synergy, but I'm just going to say it now. Primrose EX is the secret sauce for this because her ultimate gives regen that stacks with normal regen. That will give you enough to ensure that he's over 90% HP to be able to do this in both turns of break. Secret sauce right there. Very good. His ultimate technique is a damage class ultimate. It takes 4 BP to charge from level 8. It is called Dark Nebula. It's a 7-hit AoE sword that exploits dark. If he's over half HP, then he'll take half HP damage for 10% more power. It starts at 7 times 45 power and scales to 7 times 55 power. This is an AoE, so that's its best feature is that it's an AoE, but otherwise it is exceedingly weak at only 7 times 55 at Ultimate 10, and you're not going to Ultimate 10 this because why would you? Unless literally there's no reason to ult 10 this. So just don't. It's not that great. It's just extremely weak. Like, I think you'd be better off if you can't use his EX skill. You'd be better off using his 5-hit single target sword and damage capping all 5 hits than not damage capping 7 hits because this is how much weaker it is. Alright, so moving on to his Awakening Scene accessory. A1, he's a high multi-hit DPS. Base P attacks up is always good for this. He really likes A1. Makes his 10 more likely to get to damage cap because that's the goal. You want to get to 10 times damage cap if you can. Really, really strong. For example, like 300k damage cap isn't super difficult to reach. 10 times 300k is 3 million damage. Do that on both turns of break, 6 million damage from just him. Really good. A2 is nice to have for more options. It's not required. It's luxury for him. A3, more HP is always good. It's actually extra good for Ringabel due to his max HP passive, so it effectively gives him 1,300 more HP instead of just 1,000 more HP. And, you know, more HP is good because it makes the 10% HP windows a little bit bigger, so he does take more HP, but it's also, like, he heals more HP because regen scales on how much HP a unit has, so, like, overall, it ends up being a win. His A4 accessory is called a Rose That Never Dies. It gives 1,000 HP and 40 physical attack. It also grants the wearer dead aimed, so guaranteed critical hits. This does not give magic crit, but if they do happen to have magic crit, then it will work on magic as well. This A4 accessory is an S tier A4. Phenomenal A4. 1,000 HP is just so good. This is the second A4 in the game to have 1,000 HP. The only other one being an A is A4. This also has a little bit of bonus P attack, so it's good on any physical hitter that's taking damage. Its HP is just always important, no matter what fight you're in. Not dying is good. Permanent dead aim means you can skip not needing to cast dead aim buff, as your DPS will always be doing that extra 25% critical damage. Also, if your DPS, for example, has a passive that gives damage up on crits, this allows them to activate that passive and not need accessories for more reliable damage up. However, in global, I would say this is no longer an SS tier A4 because it is collab limited, and Nefty and Nivell A4s were buffed to give them dead aim as well. And both of their A4s can be exchanged for Awakening Shards. So while this is still a phenomenal A4, if you get really good fortune, like a tongue of Ringabel show up on the way to getting glory if you wanted her, for example, or you're doing just a whole pity run or whatever happens in your pull session, this is a great A4 to have. I probably wouldn't dump your stash just to get it, because if you own Nefty or Nivell, I would probably recommend exchanging for one of their A4s instead to get dead aim over chasing this. But this is an exceedingly good A4. It's just, like I said, it's collab limited, so that makes it a little harder to tell people to chase it when it's not straight up game changing. Because the difference between us and JP is this was the only dead aim A4 that existed in JP, so that made it significantly better. Whereas now in global, this is the third one, so it's not as, not as a good not as rare of a commodity now. Is probably the better way of putting it. Still very good. So an optimal skill loadout for Ringabel. Skill 1 is self-undying 3p regen. You're going to use this in every single battle. Maybe not necessarily right on turn 1, but you're going to use it pretty early on in the fight. You're going to use this. It's going to be 6 turns because you're going to use it at max boost, because why not give it the most? If he's your main DPS, Lucetta's probably behind him, so it's actually going to be 7 turns because of the buff. Let's let him slams every single turn. I do want to take a sec to expand on why this Undying buff is extremely important for him, both him and the future, when units like Shauna get it. So as people might know, I'm going to explain a little how-to on the little pet thing in case anyone watching doesn't understand why I say Lucetta is really good behind your main DPS. So Lucetta has this passive that herself and her row partner, any buff that they receive gets an extra 1 turn duration, as if the caster had the buff extension A4 on. This includes every single buff that can be extended. Obviously, any buffs that says that it can't be extended does not work with this. You can't extend double cast. You can't extend Solon's ultimate potency, yada, yada, yada. But pets don't have that restriction. Pets, all their buffs do on that turn works that turn only. However, if you use a pet on a unit that's attached to Lucetta, that pet buff will last 2 turns instead of 1. That allows you to stack pet buffs. So, for example, the previous meta, the way it worked before, is you use Lucetta and you were able to basically use a Kala the turn before break on your DPS to get 10% physical attack up. Then you use the Meowvelous cat, the August cat, to do 20% physical attack up the turn of break. That would then stack with the Kalas that didn't expire to 30% physical attack up. And it doesn't matter that you got defense down or taunted from Meowvelous because you did it on the turn of break. However, the pet meta is shifting now because with Bravely Default 2, there is a pet that's releasing called the Chomper pet. It costs 3,000 Awakening Shards, and I don't care if you're free to play or a whale, you are buying this pet. It is that good. The reason why is Chomper lets you cast on an ally, you don't even have to equip it, on an ally 30% pet damage up. That is insanely good, but it only lasts for 1 turn. Except Lucetta. So now it lasts 2 turns. So that means you have to cast it on the turn of break, so it'll last both turns of break. But what about the Akala and getting the Akala and Meowvelous combo to get 30% physical attack up? Well, you can still do that, and this is where Undying comes in. The reason Undying matters is because now 2 turns before break you have to use Akala. The turn before break, you have to use Meowvelous, which then means that turn before break, your DPS is gonna get taunted and then be vulnerable to getting slammed. If they have Undying, they don't care. So Ringabel doesn't care. When you have Shauna, your units don't care. So I did want to take a few minutes to explain why Undying is so important and why Ringabel just works right now, and then why other DPSs work very, very well once Shauna releases. That's why. Because now you can get 30% pet attack up and 30% pet damage up on your main DPS. And that does just insane amount of extra damage. Very important. Eventually, I'm going to make a video explaining all this in more detail, but I really wanted to hammer this down now, because if you get Ringabel, you need to know how to do this, because this is how you make his 10-hit do damage cap easily. Anyway, moving on. His second skill I would take his 5-hit single target sword. It's his best nuking option at VX skill, perfect for multiple breaks, or if regen isn't enough to get the 10-hit twice on a break, depending on your build or your setup, and it can be used for shield shaving as well, if you don't want to use BP. Skill 3, I could take his 4-hit AoE sword. Great for multiple enemies. There's really no reason to take the 3-hit AoE because he's gonna probably be in an undying state, so death doesn't matter. So the 4-hit draining health versus the 3-hit not probably won't matter at all. Take the extra hit, take the extra damage, who cares? Skill 4, which also note skill 3 and 4 can be swapped depending if there's ads or not. I would take the 1-hit single target that can hit up to 7 times at max boost from draining HP. Because he's going to have his TP skill active for the 3P regen, that means he can just pretty much every single turn until it's time to break, he could be doing his 7-hit shield shave. That's very helpful. 7 hits is a pretty good shield shave from a DPS to be able to contribute with. So moving on to unit synergy. Canary, great breaker, ult potency up and debuffs, top of the line. You need those debuffs anyway, that physical defense down. Good, great unit, great best breaker in the game. Solon, potency up ultimate. Ringabel does not have self-potency. That is Magnolia's thing. We'll get to her when she releases next week. But, Solon with Ringabel, great thing. Signa. Signa does Signa things. She can cap the, defense down. She can do sword res down. And she has the ultimate debuffs. Extremely good unit, useful in almost every team, and Ringabel loves having her along. Primrose EX, very, very important unit to have with Ringabel specifically, because she gives regen, she gives ultimate buffs, and her ultimate also gives regen, which stacks with her normal regen. So this, with both sources of regen, that will guarantee that he will heal from even 1% HP all the way up to back to over 90%, almost guaranteed, no matter how much HP he has. This will allow him to use his double EX skill on break for 20 hits, which is really cool. A lot of hits. Lucetta Row Partner, I already hammered this in. I don't think I need to explain it again. And then, Richard's also really great because he can give active P attack, he can give sword res down, and ultimate sword damage buffs or even more damage. So, you have a lot of good options. Ringabel is pretty good. Yeah. To pull or not to pull on his rating, Ringabel's great. He has one job, he does it exceedingly well. He hits extremely hard with the 10x90 EX skill for a potential 20 hits on break. His flaw is that he does not provide any support whatsoever outside of that. He's what I like to call a selfish DPS. He is without a doubt the strongest DPS in the game until Kane arrives. Period. ... The end. He is just that strong. He destroys he is better than Xanthos, because Xanthos just has 8x90. He has 10x90. Xanthos also has to use 5 BP. He only uses 3. Odio is 9x80. So that's also less damage, and he drains health from everybody, not just himself. So the only thing that Odio has over Ringabel is that Odio has the front row damage BP and dead aim buff and damage up buff. So like I said, that's why I call Ringabel a selfish DPS, because he doesn't do anything besides attack. He does not support the party at all. So if you have the supports to apply the buffs and DPS for him and set him up, he will eviscerate anything that dares to be weak to sword or dark. He is best for ending fights quickly, but not for the long haul, because once his EX skill uses are both gone, his damage does drop a good bit, because 5x120 is nowhere near as good as 10x90. Mathematically wise, that's pretty clear. It's almost half as effective, and it's a lot less hits that are going to probably still damage cap, so as you can tell that it's a lot less. I would keep that in mind. Once his TP skill runs out and he uses both EX skill, like I just said, he drops a full tier in DPS, but he remains solid, just not crazy good. So I will say that regardless of pull advice I give, if you love a character, pull anyway. Bravely Default 2 is pretty cool. Have fun your way. Tier 4, free to play. This is a ruby check. If you're solid in rubies, 15k, give or take, up or low in each direction. Or if you need a sword DPS, like you have no Elrica, Odio, or Sazantos, for example, like that, I'd consider Ringabel. Not a ruby grad at all. You can live without him, but he'll carry you in anything weak to Sword and Dark until Kane and Tiziano arrives, if you're waiting for that combo. That's going to be at least 3 months away, because even if Kane comes in Anniversary in June, you still need Tiziano, who probably will come right after her. So that's still a little bit of time. And then, you still want Shadow, so that's why I kind of get the math of around 15k rubies, because assuming the worst possible luck, that's 9k for Shauna Tiziano, 6k for Kane, so that's 15k. But, I mean, I know you can factor in that a couple of months of ruby income is a few thousand rubies, give or take. So, you kind of do the math, see where your account stands. You can kind of make up your own mind if he's worth it. I'm just trying to say that he's not an auto skip for F2P. Like, you're fine if you skip him. It's just, it's worth thinking about based on your account. So Tier 3 low spinner passes, I'd say same deal. Your ruby income is a little bit higher from passes, so I think he's a solid pickup if you have the supports to empower him for quicker clears. I think he's great to go for. He's a great hit if you're also going for Gloria for some reason, or if you really like her because it's a dual banner. I would say this is one of the few times where I'd actually recommend like a Tier 3 go for at least one copy potentially. I don't know how your low spending works if it's passes only. Stone packs are about $30 now, so if you get one copy and buy a stone pack for A1, that's not a terrible idea. Which, speaking of that, Tier 2 for Dolphins, I'd say A1 him at least. Best DPS for what he can hit until Kane. You can't go wrong with that. Pull at least one, buy the stone pack, pull multiple, do one full pity, whatever you want to do. Tier 1 Whale, A4. Amazing A4. You don't need ult 10 unless you're a true unit maxer, though. High spear. But yeah, you're gonna enjoy doing a lot of cool stuff with him. 10 times damage cap is gonna be chef's kiss. So rating on for DPS. He is an SS tier DPS. I don't know why. If anyone says he's not, they're just wrong. 10 times 90 is amazingly good. That is so many hits. Like, very few things get more hits than 10. That's not a very common thing to beat. But the main thing about it is that he has no support, no healing, no tanking. And so because of all of that, and the fact that he just only hits really hard and provides no other support whatsoever, and is that the overall tier rating I have to give him is probably just about an S minus. Like, he's exceedingly good, but he hits hard. That's it. I know I'm a broken record, and I apologize. Yeah. But note, I just want to pay note for anyone wondering why I put not available in tank. It's because I don't consider Undying a tank ability, just because you could put taunt on him to make him tank everything and not be able to die. Because that's really more on another unit putting taunt on him, or you're specifically making him do less damage by giving him a taunt pet or a taunt accessory, except that the taunt accessory doesn't really work. A day A4 doesn't really work if he's damaging himself, because then he's no longer at full HP, so you get what I'm saying. Anyway, so that's what I think about Ringabel. I am a Tier 2 player myself, although I might be dropping to Tier 3 depending on how my life is going, but that's not besides the point. I'm going to be pulling for one of each because I'm a unit collector. Do not copy me. Being a unit collector is not a good thing in this game. There's too many units. Point and laugh at the dummy over here. But please let me know what you thought about the video. Please let me know if you pulled for him and if you had good fortune or not. And please let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see. Otherwise, like, follow, and subscribe for more future COTC content. And I will see you all in the next one. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya.